Good evening. I'd like to call to order the July 24th, 2025 meeting of the Culver Town Council. Before we get started, a little housekeeping. This meeting is being recorded. Your participation is your permission to be rebroadcast on the town's YouTube channel. Secondly, tonight we have pretty much a full house, and we're going to have a public hearing. Certain that everybody will probably wish to speak at a public hearing. I'd like you to make certain that you sign in. When you speak, please give your name and your address. And I'd like to, because we have so many, I think, that are going to want to speak, I'd like to limit it perhaps to 10 minutes per person. So, getting underway, I'd like to ask Ms. Hine for the roll call, please.
Cleavenger.
Present.
Justin Croy.
Here.
Ginny Munroe.
Here.
Dana Neer. Ricciardi.
Here. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of the July 10th meeting. Every counselor had a chance to review the minutes. Are there any additional corrections? Ms. Munroe moves to approve the minutes of July 10th as second. Second by Mr. Neer. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you. Next, we have a guest speaker, Mr. Jonathan Best from One Marshall County. Like to come forward, sir? Sure.
How you doing? I'm Jonah Best. I'm with One Marshall County, helping represent One Marshall County. I'm also a town board member for Bourbon. Just came to reach out to the council and extend our need and desire to hear from Culver, the Culver community. Kevin also is on the board with me. We've been working very well together. I know it was a little shaky beginning of my term with Bourbon. We met and there were some questions, some concerns about what it really was going to be. I think we've taken it very slow. I think we've been very focused on direction and exactly what we're looking for and what we're trying to accomplish and bringing the communities together as One Marshall. Not only communicating and working with each other in projects, but also grants, being able to get grants and that sort of thing. As a whole, and surprisingly, we're not asking for any money this year. We just want to hear back from the communities. We want to hear what we can help you do or help you accomplish and help us accomplish as One Marshall. So, do any of you have any questions for me? Make it short and sweet.
Kevin usually updates us. Regional planning is still taking place in Marshall County.
Yeah.
So appreciate you being part of that, Jonah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jonah. Been a positive experience in discussing. One of the things that One Marshall is doing is they're moving forward without that financial ask as we develop an understanding of who we are, building up what was happening before on the regional planning basis. So it has been good for another reason we get to sit and talk a little bit.
Yeah.
Find out. So thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next on the agenda is public concern, utility, ordinance, violation and appeal. Anyone in the room? Yes. Yes, ma'am.
I'm Annette Osborne. My husband and I own Culver Storage on the north side of town. The Culver golf cart ordinance prevents golf carts from being on sidewalks. That, in effect, makes it impossible for those who rent and store their golf carts in our facility from using them. They can either ride on the sidewalk and violate your ordinance, or they can ride on the highway and break the law. And this applies to the people who live in those two subdivisions to the west, and it affects several other businesses along the highway. What I would ask is for you to amend that ordinance and exempt the sidewalk that runs along the highway. 10. I would 10 and 17. From Lakeshore Drive to, I think it's called Autumn Glory Drive at that second subdivision. That's all the farther the sidewalk goes.
I know Jason has a lot of his carts stored there.
Mhm.
How many are there from his business?
I'm not sure how many from his, there's probably 6 or 8 from his business, but we've got 12 people at least who store their carts at our facility.
Reality of it's not legal for the golf cart in the state of Indiana from the state highway.
Correct. But you have an ordinance that you could amend and allow them to ride on the sidewalk from our facility to Lakeshore Drive. And for years before the sidewalk was there, everybody used the right of way for walking and for golf carts. And everybody was fine. To my knowledge, there was never any incidents. But now you put a sidewalk on that and you've prevented people.
But they still can ride or drive their golf cart on the roadway.
Not on the highway, they can't. Look at the map. Our facility is just west of the liquor store. So you come out of our gate, you're on the highway or you're on the sidewalk.
That's why I think people. Probably the dollar store. Because they know they'll get a ticket if they go on the sidewalk.
Correct. And if you amended the ordinance, it'd save your officers a heck of a lot of problems as well. You wouldn't have to police that section.
People could just do what they're supposed to do and not go on.
So what should I tell my
They have to.
renters, that you're not willing to compromise?
And then what-
I'm not.
But how do you then, do you store a golf cart with me?
No.
Okay,
Put up my
people can
house.
drive there and get their golf cart, which is in storage. Where can they go with it?
Well, I think if I stored a piece of equipment like that, I'd have to take it in on a trailer, technically. And Jason probably moves his in and out with a trailer. So technically, they have a means to get it in and out of there, and they did before we put a sidewalk in.
No,
So
You said there are 6, or let's say 20 golf carts here.
at least,
Okay,
at least.
are they there for long-term storage? Are
Yes.
they- Okay, so
Yes,
are
they're
they
year-round storage.
year-round storage? So when they come to town, they're accessing the golf cart that's at the storage and they don't have a place at their house to store it.
That's generally
so
the,
they're taking it in.
or daily,
whole
depending
summer.
on, yes.
Could you come up with an agreement, parking shop to come out the backside and go around it?
We have no way out the back fence. The only gate to the facility is the one that's on the highway.
I know Jason, that just kind of look the other way, they know,
Mhm,
but it's more difficult for your residents.
mhm.
Thank you, Annette.
I look forward to seeing an ordinance on the agenda.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
I'm back from weeks ago. I believe that I also submitted the application to parents. I also sent a letter to all of you citing my position. I was called, after receiving the $1,100 water bill, I now have another one coming in the amount of $250. And really what I was here for last time, which I thought that you knew, is that there seemed to be a lack of urgency in getting the information to me. And when this problem occurred and getting it turned off. So I really wanted, my timeline is differs from what I was given, and I want that cleared up. But I also, if I was giving any forgiveness, it would be to the 6 days to tell me that my water was running.
Don't remember. Karen sent some information. I walked out of the house and left mine. And I know that we're thinking, we're looking at changing our water forgiveness policy, maybe updating it. We'll do that. I don't recall if the water had gone out on the floor, out into, I think the current year would have given you something like $562 off the bill. And I think since that's an extraordinary amount, I'd like to see. Yeah, give you
Give me what?
the 560. Was it 562?
520, it would be $526 based on if we follow the policy.
Yeah.
That we have in place right now. That if the water does not go down, does not enter the sewer,
Yeah.
then it would have been a $526.
Because I agree with what you said. You can't prove that it, with the current policy that we have, you can't prove that it went down the sewer, but you can't prove that it didn't go. It's one of these that, how do you prove that it where it went? And I think that, that we need to change the policy, but in the meantime, I'd like to see town give you the refund of 526 is transposed to,
Councilors, on the other discussion?
Yeah, I think generally speaking, that, it is the homeowner's responsibility, but we do have a forgiveness clause in our forgiveness policy. And you did not ask for that the first time. And I think this is a unique situation. We cannot prove it's went down the sewer or it did go down the sewer. And because we do have this policy in place currently, I agree with you, Sal. Forgiveness in this situation, and then we look at the policy in the future.
Real quick before we vote, as a council, I would say we probably need to get on that policy as soon as possible so that next meeting, we don't have somebody coming in saying, well, we can't prove where it went. Right. Obviously, I think we're all in agreement. We want to see Julie that as an extraordinary circumstance. And it's not like she's in here every week saying, hey, but for the next person that does that, we need to make sure that's done probably by the end of August.
Good suggestion. Okay, is there a motion on the floor?
I'll make a motion. Refund 500. $526 on her.
$506, $526.10.
526.10.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Mr. Ricciardi moves the motions to approve forgiveness of $526.10. Or second. Second by Mr. Neer. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Attention. Ms. Munroe.
Can I ask that we go ahead and set a work session then right now?
Pardon?
Can I ask that we set a work session on that, let's say while it's on the table?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
But work session before the next meeting,
August 14th.
August 13th,
14.
14th.
Preparing for that work session, council, I've sent some examples from across the state on different forgiveness policies, some in line with our current, some definitely taking into consideration what Mr. Tankersley said at the last meeting about demonstration of proof and that they have a standard policy of water loss, not trying to prove if it went in the system or not. Is there anything more in preparation for that? Please reach out, email me.
I know we're doing our budget meetings at the first week in August. Do we need to leave that work session agenda open to potentially having some sort of budget as well?
At this time, I'm hoping to get through all the budgets.
Okay.
But thanks for asking.
If we do that meeting that day, are we talking 5 o'clock like today?
I would,
Okay.
if that's okay. I mean, that's up to the council, but I'll be here.
Anyone else in the room? Anyone online? Hearing none. Going to move on to the public hearing. Ordinance 2025-008 water rates and charges. I entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
Move.
So moved by Mr. Croy,
Second.
second by Mr. Ricciardi. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. 6:49. Yes, ma'am.
If I may,
Yes.
before we get started, I've just got some information to provide about the water rate ordinance that is under consideration this evening. Just to give you some context and a little bit of information, some of this is already circulated. I've tried to get it out to the newspaper and on Town County Lake and on our website. But just to remind people, the last rate increase that we had was in 2015, which is 9 years ago. There was a rate study conducted in 2021, and at which time the council declined raising rates as the community was still recovering from the COVID-19 pandemic. And so they didn't want to add additional fees to residents at that time. We updated the rate study in 2023 and no action was taken. And then we updated the rate study again at the end of 24. And that is the current version that we have right now that's dated May 5th, 2025. If anybody wants to see it, I have a couple of copies up here and we also put it on the website for your review. In 2015, the town took out a water bond or a bond for water improvement. And that bond ordinance requires the minimum fund balance of $525,521 in the water fund. At the end of 2024, the balance was $498,749. And at the end of June, it was down to $302,125. I did take a look. We have had some engineering expenses with various projects, but that fund is continuing to decrease. And I don't want us to get into a situation where we can't make a bond payment. The average water income has been $543,576 for the last 5 years. And expenses have averaged about $544,255. There is a chart in the packet that I gave everybody on the back that just kind of shows the water and sewer fund, water and sewer go like hand in hand in my brain. So there's no, I should have started out with this. The good news is there are no sewer increases. So then on to the bad news is what we're dealing with now. But on that back page, it shows the water fund over the last couple of years, along with the income and the income and the expenses. In addition to operational costs and routine maintenance, the town's required to replace approximately 180 water lines that have been identified as lead service lines. And we have to do that over the next 10 years. We have to do 10% per year. That averages out to about 18 service lines per year. And we don't know the exact cost. It's going to vary depending on how far we have to go. So those costs were taken into consideration and included when setting the rate. And we budgeted $500,000 over 5 years, beginning in 2026. It's $100,000 for the first 2 years, and then $150,000 for the second 2 years. And then we'll have to see where we're at and continue out planning. We did hire Baker Tilly, which is a financial management firm, to do the water and sewer rate, and they have also factored in potential revenue from the addition of the dunes housing project and approximately 300 units out there. They indicated that when they took all those units into account, the additional revenue generated from the dunes should actually reduce the recommended rate increase by about 50%. So without the dunes coming online, the rates would be even, that they would propose would be even higher. Another factor is in the consideration, just to keep in mind, many of our homes in Culver are not occupied year round. And while they do pay a monthly minimum bill, regardless of how much water they use, our average resident in town is lower than most other cities. And the study that Baker Tilly provides is based on 4,000 gallons per user, and we're right around 2,000. So, which is why I think in some of the information I provided, actually the chart, one of the charts that's in that packet shows a variety of gallons used per homeowner from 1,000 up to 4,000. Maybe I went to 5, I don't. I've been looking at a lot of spreadsheets and charts and stuff over the last couple of days. So the minimum water charge currently is $16.64. Usage for up to 2,000 gallons. So if you use 0 to 2,000 gallons, you're automatically going to pay $16.64. That doesn't include sales tax, which is something that we collect and pass on to the state. That number will increase to $30.78. Fire protection, which is for hydrant maintenance, it doesn't have anything to do with our volunteer fire department. That will increase from $4.25 to $7.82. And so if you include sales tax in all of that, it's a total increase of $18.74 for a minimum user up to 2,000 gallons. And this represents an average yearly increase. If we had done yearly increases over the last 9 years, you would have seen an increase of $2.08 per year. The total bill for a resident, including water, sewer, trash, and stormwater for 2,000 gallons, will be $87. So when comparing rates to other towns, and I included a couple of other charts in there showing towns in our region, as well as towns across the state of Indiana of similar size. The rates are based on 4,000 gallons of usage. That amount of proposed rates that we have are approximately $16 over the state average, and that's just for water, as of May 6, 2025. And then when you add the sewer cost, we'd be about $2.85 over the current state average when you combine both of the fees. And I will say that this is a moving target because cities and towns across the state of Indiana are, we're doing our first reading of our ordinance tonight. My friend in Cromwell is introducing a water rate over there. I don't know where Bourbon is as far as your water and sewer rates. If you're done or
Hopefully.
I mean, yeah. So yeah, because we're really close. Yeah. So people are constantly changing. So if they're not making changes now, they're probably going to make it next year or two.
Hey, Karen, on that comparison, we pull out the trash fee
Yeah, that comparison is just for water and then water and sewer. And it's all, everyone's based on. County specific, we'd have the highest rate for water and sewer combined based on 4,000 gallons. And that would be $103.18. Again, that's 4,000 gallons of usage. And that would be just ahead of Argus. They're at 101.30 and Bourbon is at 96.86. Freeman's at 63.89.
Let's just put on an RFP for waters. Please.
Yeah.
So that I think we'll get ready to make a change.
And I didn't see when Argus last raised their rates. So, but I will say that raising rates is a difficult decision and I have been wringing my hands over it. And I hate coming to the town and saying we need to raise rates. And, you know, I'm a ratepayer as well. And I'm going to be paying the same rates everybody else is. So it's a difficult decision, but it is necessary so that we can continue to raise to our residents. I just wanted to get that information out before
Thank you.
the start of the public hearing and definitely want to hear your.
Thank you. Anyone who wishes to speak to the public hearing? Yes.
Barb Johnson, 18243 West Shore Circle, Culver. I'm speaking on behalf of the washboard laundromat. I can appreciate the rate going up. I understand that that's coming from. Unfortunately, though, what it does to our business is 88.6% increase. And I do have a question on that amount. How is sewage figured into your bill?
So sewage is, I'm going off the top of my head, but I think it's like $5.36 is the base fee, and then you pay per 1,000 gallons. Is that right?
I think so.
I should
So
go
the rate,
it's a different rate.
okay, so sorry
Yeah.
to interrupt you.
No, no,
So
it's
the
okay.
rate is not determined by the dollar amount of your water, is that
No.
correct?
It's
Okay.
based on the usage
Okay,
of the water. So
Gotcha.
if you use
Perfect.
1,000 gallons of water, you're going to use 1,000. You're
Okay.
going to be billed for 1,000 gallons of sewer.
perfect. So it would be then 88.6% once we had figured this out. We would, honestly, we'd be looking at closing our business. And I look at the laundromat as an essential business for Culver, for our community. For many reasons, if it be low income, if it be children getting their clothes washed, not spreading illnesses in school. A lot of these low income people do not have the means to buy a washer and dryer here in Culver. I am asking and proposing that the laundromat would be able to have a rate increase among 5 years, rather than all at once.
Like an incremental,
Incremental.
volume. Are you thinking more like a volume discount because you would use more volume?
You know, that is something maybe we can discuss at another time, but to basically double the price for our washers would be, honestly, would be detrimental to the community. Not only am I looking at the lower income, but it's a trickle down effect. We have how many Airbnbs? I believe 80 in Culver. Majority of those cleaning companies come into our laundromat and provide a service, and there's a lot of employees that come in and out there. So I do see it as a trickle effect on top of the lower income.
Thank you. Anything else?
I think that's it. Just want to make sure that you guys are aware that I do think that it's an essential business. Access to clean clothes is crucial for maintaining personal hygiene and preventing the spread of illnesses. I just want to make sure everybody knows as well, I'm not, this is my sister, not making us rich by any means. we purchased this 4 years ago, 5 years ago as an investment for future. But we feel like that we have done a lot to clean it up. We put a lot of hard work and sweat and money into it, and we hope we don't have to close the doors.
Thank you.
Definitely have a great look at building.
Thank you.
Facility in general, I did inside.
Anyone else wish? Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Hannah Croy, I, still out of West Lake Shore Drive. I wrote down what I would like to say. So, I'm here as a full-time resident of Culver to express concern about the proposed water rate increase. While I understand the need to fund and maintain our water infrastructure, this proposal places an unfair and unnecessary burden on the residents to keep the town running year-round. We're all feeling the weight of rising costs, housing, energy, groceries, and childcare have all increased dramatically. For many families, an additional increase in water rate isn't just inconvenient, it can be a real financial hardship. From my understanding, this increase will disproportionately impact the full-time residents. Seasonal homeowners, while important to our community, don't typically contribute or use the utility year-round. Yet, it's the year-round family of seniors and workers who have been asked to shoulder that cost, and that does not seem fair or sustainable. I propose that the council consider raising the minimum water bill for part-time residents instead. As it stands, full-time residents are once again bearing this burden. Over the past 5 years that I've been a full-time resident, I've been involved in many boards and community groups, those which all share the same goal, attracting and retaining young families in Culver. Decisions like this make that goal hard to reach. When essential costs like housing, utilities, and water keep rising, Culver becomes less accessible, not more. To give a real example, daycare here in Culver costs $680 a month for one child. Our family has 3 children in daycare. That is over $2,000 a month in daycare costs. Last month, our total utility bills were over $658 due to the NIPSCO increase that also just occurred. We have a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, and 5-month-old twins. Our water usage is only going to increase as it will for other growing families in town who you want to move to town. This proposed rate increase on top of rising energy costs and property taxes is going to hit the young families the hardest. According to census data, the small towns across the Midwest are losing families with young children. Affordability is a major reason why. If we want Culver to thrive in the future, we need to support the people who live, work, and raise the children here 12 months a year. Pushing this increase through now sends the wrong message and leaves families like ours with fewer and fewer reasons to stay in Culver and rather start looking elsewhere to live. Culver is a town worth investing in, but that investment should not come at the cost of driving out the very people who call this home year-round and those who you say you want to attract to town, the young families.
May I have your name again, please?
Yep, Hannah Croy.
Thank you.
Here's my name.
Yes, sir.
Yes, my name is Hunter Johnson. I live at 442 Ohio Street in Culver. And I'm speaking on the water issue as it pertains to the laundromat. I lived in town for the past 5 years. And up until a couple of years ago, when my stepmom Barb bought the laundromat, most of the machines were broken and defunct. And she bought it and made an investment in it. And I used that basically every week. Anecdotally, I know a couple dozen other people in town who make regular use of it. From a personal perspective, I can say that using the laundromat is typically cheaper than doing your laundry at home. Not even including the cost of buying a new machine, but just for your own water bills, being able to run your loads in larger machines. So I would consider it to effectively be a public utility. And if they were forced to increase their rates, like I said, by 88%, that would effectively double the cost of the loads. And people would essentially not only have to close the doors, but it would make sense to do your loads there. They cost $10 to do a single load of laundry. So then people would really have no choice but to buy their own machine, which many families can't afford, or perhaps go to the nearest laundromat in Knox, Plymouth. So I think that not just the laundromat, but other small businesses deserve some more level of predictability when it comes to rate increases. Instead of kicking the can down the road and doing a 50% or larger increase, maybe, a graduated level of increases, perhaps, 5, 6, 7, 10% a year would make more sense as a matter of fairness, not only to small businesses, but also residents and homeowners in town.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Mason, 530 Forest Place. I have a question and then a comment. The fire protection cost is almost doubled. What's the justification of that? I mean, do we have bills that show that we're spending so much more on maintaining our hydrants than we did before? Or how do we justify that increase?
We had 2 fire hydrants replaced and it was $34,000. Just 2. I mean, that's the cost of you replacing.
Just to make sure I got your question, Russ, because I just
How
want
do
to
you
report,
factor that into a rate? I don't understand.
and I understand that. What I want to do is try to capture questions tonight and then provide the answers publicly online if that's acceptable when we get, instead of viscerally responding to that, I want to get the data that you're asking for. So how do we justify the increase in the fire protection rate? Is that your question?
That's my question.
Thank you, sir.
And my comment is along with the lines of everybody else. When the rates go up 80-some%, that's a big hit for everybody in 1 year. I would propose that you consider phasing that in. Half of it this year, if it has to be done, and half of it next year, but not all at once, because it's an impact that people can't manage when it's such a large sum. Thank you.
Thank you, Russ. Yes, Barb.
You have to say my address again? You got it. To go along with what Russ said, as I did the figures, Russ, I don't see an 80% increase for residentials. I do see an 88.6 increase for 2 businesses in Culver. Those 2 businesses are the laundromat and the car wash, and the car wash just opened 2 weeks ago. I feel like if we can't provide simple things like a car wash and a laundromat for a community, what do we have? Sell my, right, but what do I have? You know, sell my building and maybe somebody will tear it down and build a condo. You're not gonna use that building for anything.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone online?
I would just like to point out briefly that the car wash, like Barb mentioned, was closed for, I believe, at least a decade, maybe 12 or 13 years. So I think that people who are willing to invest in this town deserve some level of predictability when it comes to things like that before they make new investments in this town, especially when they could be very well investing well into the 6 figures.
Thank you. Anyone online?
There are 2 people online, but I don't see them unmuting.
Yes, for the record, I have a letter I'd like to read into the record. This is from Mr. Kevin Berger. I've had eye surgery, so bear with me if I have to squint a little bit. Dear Mr. Cleavenger, I'm writing to protest the 83% increase in private fire protection proposed in Ordinance 2025-008. It is frustrating because this number seems to be very arbitrary since there's no service provided for the cost. Then the cost is further increased by a sales tax charge that's not reflected in the ordinance. A couple of specific concerns in regard to Sand Hill Farm Apartments. The residents of Sand Hill Farm Apartments pay their own water bill. This means they will be experiencing a double hit, one from the increase in their water-based bill, second with the rent increase to cover the increased fire protection. 2, Sand Hill Farm Apartments is under rent restriction on the 2-bedroom units with a maximum allowable increase in rents each year. For most of these units, I have kept the rent well below allowable in an effort to serve the workforce housing needs. This increase in fire protection service is more than 30% above what I would be allowed to raise the rents. These fees are arbitrary in nature, discourage the installation of fire sprinkler systems when the town should be encouraging them as a safety measure for residents and firefighters. The same applies to private fire hydrant fee, which again is arbitrary and provides no service. For this reason, we removed hydrant install at Sand Hill Farm Apartments and specifically did not include any when the paddocks was constructed. Please consider reducing or better eliminating these arbitrary anti-safety fees. I would be happy to discuss this. It's your pleasure. Thank you for your consideration in this matter. Respectfully, Kevin L. Berger, Managing Member, Culver Sand Hill Farm LLC. And I'd like to enter this record letter.
I additionally received a request to have the letter read into the record tonight. Heather Marty, property manager of the Paddocks, Culver, Indiana, regarding proposed fire protection rate increase. Good evening, members of council. We represent Bradley Company as the property manager of the Paddocks, a 48-unit affordable housing community here in Culver. We want to express our deep concern regarding the 83% increase in private fire protection rate. For a modest community like ours, this would result in an additional $3,000 in annual cost. We serve low to moderate income residents in Culver, and passing this increase on through higher rents, along with anticipated increases in individual water service charges, would place a significant financial burden on the most vulnerable members of our community not only would they be subject to an additional rent increase of about $6 per month from the new rates, they would also see an increase to their personal water bills since they pay that directly. We respectfully urge you to reconsider the scale of this increase and the impact it will have on those least able to absorb it. While we acknowledge that we may not fully understand the cost modeling behind the proposal, we believe that any rate increase, especially one of this magnitude, should be subject to a reasonableness test. An 83% increase simply does not meet that standard. If we raised rents by 83%, our property would be vacant overnight. Yet, this proposal would apply that same level of increase to a critical operating expense, one that we have no way of controlling the offset. To provide context, we manage a newer property in Plymouth where there are where the fire protection cost is $1,365 per building. Under the proposed structure in Culver, that same service would cost $2,199, despite serving buildings that are nearly identical. That kind of disparity feels arbitrary and inequitable. Moreover, it is troubling that a small residential building with 8 apartments could be charged the same fire protection rate as a large industrial facility, which tens of thousands of square feet. This one-size-fits-all approach does not reflect the reality of risk or usage and puts an undue burden on affordable housing providers and ultimately the vulnerable residents we serve. We understand that operational costs rise and that the fire protection is an essential service. However, I urge the council to reconsider this increase and conduct a fair and transparent review to ensure that rate adjustments are equitable, justifiable, and sustainable, especially for housing providers who serve our community's most financially fragile residents. Thank you for your time and your consideration. I'd like to enter that. Please, thank you.
I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing. Ms. Munroe moves to close the public hearing. A second. Second by Mr. Neer. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. 7:14. Next item of business is the waterproof improvement bid.
Oh, I didn't bring that. Oh, let's do that. You don't have to award the amount, just.
Yeah, sorry, I don't have the bid amount exactly for Peerless Midwest. But we are asking tonight that Peerless Midwest be the approved vendor for our water project that is conducted at the plant.
They were the sole vendor.
Right, and Midwestern, that comes from the recommendation of the Midwestern engineers.
Midwestern's done the review, but.
Yeah, that's correct. And the estimated project cost at the moment is $800,000 after deduction for the filter material.
As we talked about during the work session, this is not directly related to the water rate increases, correct?
Absolutely not.
Just about waiting for it.
Make a motion to approve moving forward with Peerless on the water plant construction project.
Mr. Monroe moves to move forward with the water protection, our water improvement project. Second,
Kind of ironic.
I'll second.
second by Mr. Ricciardi.
And
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those same sign, thank you.
Thank you, council. Sorry, I wasn't prepared for feedback.
New time. New business.
This is the fire department trying to justify the rate increase, by the way.
you planned it.
The timing.
100%.
That alarm was supposed to have been 15 minutes earlier. Okay, next, under new business, the first reading, ordinance 2025-008, water rate and changes. We have a motion to approve on first read.
Ready to approve this. I understand it would just be first reading. But I want to take under consideration the feedback we just got. Give Kevin some time to do a little bit of research on this fire rate increase. I have a couple of other questions that, and I don't know if we need a work session again for the next meeting, where we have a work session, but if we don't go to first read tonight, will we have to republish a hearing, Kevin? I'm assuming not, right?
No, you had satisfied that statutory.
Yeah, so, I have a couple of questions, like, for example, we brought up one of the same points that Hannah made about full-time residency. I do know that the rate for part-time residents, that minimum goes up. I do want us to look at, does it need to be higher?
Can I clarify something? Because it's not just for part-time residents, it's across the board. There's that minimum rate, so I don't want to get into it.
I get it.
Yeah,
There has to be sensitivity to discriminatory practice on the rate adjustments
100%
and
agree.
yeah.
business.
100%. But I do want to look at the volume usage idea, because we do have, as Mark pointed out, a couple of businesses where I know you can have like a commercial rate or a volume discount rate, and I consider that situation probably would fall under that. More curious if that exists in other communities, how that might look or work. Because I think it's a fair question and a legitimate point. I hadn't even thought about laundry department or laundry business, to be honest. I'm considering this, or the fact that we now have a car cleaning business back and it works. I think it's a fair thing to look into. And I think today's work session did help me tremendously in getting my head around the fact that the GO bond is covering some of this to make sure these rates aren't even higher, because they started off higher than where we're at today. I think that's helped me, but I'm still trying to get my head around it and what we have to get done project wise. But I'm not comfortable yet making a decision on the current number. And if other people are, that's fine. I'll vote.
And just so everybody's aware, as a council, obviously this came to us a while ago, but we're what, $200,000 under the minimum that we're required to have in our account. Right? You said it was what, 302, 302, and we're supposed to have 525. Okay, so that obviously that money has to come from somewhere. So there's got to be an increase at something. Obviously, my wife read that pretty much sums up my thoughts as well. But at the same time, there's got to be an increase because it's costing us more for water than it is. It's costing us more to provide water than what we're charging for it. So how we do that is the big question. Obviously, I know we can have a discussion. I would be in favor of a work session, just so the five of us can talk about what we think is the best way to do that and meet those requirements that are needed. And then we have obviously the lead pipe requirement. When's that?
It starts 26.
Starts in 2026.
Yes, we start doing checks as soon as you have to.
Well, and one of the things we did talk about, just so people understand it, and obviously I haven't gotten comfortable with, this council should have done rate increases incrementally for the last 10 years, 3% a year or whatever that would look like. And in fact, I think when we first started talking about doing another rate study in 2020, 2019, we didn't anticipate COVID happening. And that did sort of put us into a tizzy in that at that time, there were people who couldn't pay their utility bill at all because there's no income coming in, right? And we were doing grants to our small businesses. We spent a lot of money helping small businesses stay afloat, if you will. I'm not using the word float, talking about here. That's just, trying to, and, I know when I was town manager, we reapproached the council at that time saying, hey, you gotta do something with these rates. And nothing occurred that year. Was that 22 or 23, Karen?
I think we've updated the rate study.
Yes, we spent a lot of money at Baker Tilly getting to this study. And it's very obvious we have to do something. And we talked about whether or not to do it incrementally because we have a lot of projects to pay for as well. And if you do it incrementally, you're fixing maybe the upfront problem to break even, but then you're not covering what we've projected out project wise, the lead pipes. And, in the meantime, things age, your lift stations, your pumps, et cetera. So it's been a struggle for me to get my head around it. I've been really a nagging source to Kevin and the council members about it myself. So I think we all get where you guys are coming from, where Hannah's coming from, et cetera. I think we're on the cusp of making our decision about how to move forward. Maybe I'm just not quite there. I know we need to do it. We need to do it now. But I think it's fair to take time to look at the feedback, give the public the next 3 weeks or whatever till our next meeting, and then have another discussion among us before we make our first pass at first read.
Karen, you have any comments on that?
No.
Okay. All right.
I will ask though, it's fine. Do you want to have another work session then on the 14th? Or do you want to squeeze a work session in a week? How do you want to do this? Because I guess it's.
I don't want to
moving forward-
interfere with the budget meetings.
Well, yeah, we've got budget. We've got a lot of stuff like crammed into a short period of time. And I just don't have enough time to deal with everything right now. So I guess my request to you would be tonight, tomorrow, compile a list of requests, suggestions, ideas, information that you want from Baker Tilly. Kevin and I actually have a meeting scheduled with Baker Tilly on the 4th of August that we can, so that way we have time to compile all the questions, get them to Baker Tilly in advance so they can do what they need to do and get us a response, and we can discuss it on the 4th. Then we can come and share that information with you and you all can make your determination.
Yeah.
My suggestion would be,
Since we're having one on the 14th anyway, why don't we just do it then?
that's fine.
If I may.
Go ahead.
So what I've heard tonight from the public and the council tonight, there needs to be an articulation of what we mean by our fire protection rate, why that is increased. I heard that 4 times tonight, and I want to make sure that we are at least able to articulate it. May not find agreement why, but at least there's an explanation that people have been put out in front of them and can see. So that's one task. The second task I've heard tonight is that you would like us to go back and both from the council and from the public input is to explore the possibility of an incremental increase. What would that look like to resolve the fund up front to make sure that we do maintain the balance Mr. Croy discussed, but also be able to be responsible to that fund moving forward. If there's any other suggestions, I welcome any public input to the email or stop by the office. Range of time, I would love to hear suggestions. And maybe in the meantime, we'll get some more public suggestions. That's what we'll approach Baker Tilly with. And if you think of anything else that I've missed tonight, please do reach out.
Yeah, I've got a third one that I think we talked about it when we first started talking about this, and maybe it was one of our work sessions before. Can you make that fund balance correctly today with general fund money? Like, are we allowed, I know you can't borrow against utility fund without putting it back, but can you take general fund money and go, okay, we're gonna make this square with 200,000 or whatever?
I think that's what we're going to approach Baker Tilly with. Here's what we've received in terms of feedback. And we're going to explore those ideas the best we can with the data and see where we can find
That's one I want
compromise and
to
resolution.
get an answer to.
Okay, moving on, board commission reports. Technical review, and plan commission.
I will be, you have it?
Go for it.
Yeah, about it. I'll be reading for Mr. Gorski this evening. Building Commissioner Report, June 2025. Building permits applied for 7. There were 7 in May. The total fees collected for building permit, fence and roof permits and BZA and Planning Commission applications. Culver received $1,235 for June. That's up from $1,115 in March. Zoning ordinance update. We'll knock these out as we go. The building commissioner will present revisions and updates to the Planning Commission at the August meeting. Unsafe structures. Slow progress at 205 Akron Street. Mr. Cooper has made minimal progress, but continues with that progress. I doubt Mr. Cooper will make the August deadline for repairs as stated in the last unsafe building meeting. As building commissioner, I'm good at granting an additional extension as long as progress continues at the current rate. 440 South Ohio and 220 Clover Garage have been sent a notice of violation for an unsafe blighted property. PRC, there were no cases heard in June. Plan Commission. The June Plan Commission meeting had 2 cases. Both cases were for replats. The rules and procedures for the Plan Commission meetings were adopted. BZA. The BZA heard 3 cases in June for variance of development. Sincerely, Steve Gorski, Culver Building Commission.
Thank you very much.
Welcome, sir.
Ms. Ricciardi, Redevelopment Commission.
Well, we did have a meeting where we promised 200,000 to offset some costs with the
Water plant.
water plant. Yeah, water plant.
Water's the topic.
Got a little tongue tied there. And Marty wanted me to discuss, or at least lay out the plan that we have for our 26 budget. And that, first in August, at our August meeting, we're going to be hearing from Visitors Center, Main Street, Town Hall, with community schools and others. And in September, we'll make out a preliminary spending plan. And then in October, we would be presenting it to the town council and hopefully finalizing it during that month so that we met with the December 1st requirement. We have a budget in place that's approved by the.
There was a lot of talk too about maybe using part of our redevelopment budget to support utility plant work
Right.
in the future.
Right. Yeah.
Anything else?
Not really. I think we discussed Main Street program. Some initiatives there, getting also the theater has finally been at least moving because it's no longer a state situation where they couldn't make any decisions. So hopefully those things will be moving along. And I think the new flags for the light poles will be going up next in the very near future.
We received them yet? Received them this morning? We'll try to get some up next week.
Tree Commission, John?
Tom Helfrey, we have a meeting coming up August 6th. And, gonna choose, we got a state nursery that we're gonna choose new plant things and hopefully figure out locations. And based on what we just talked about, and what you talked about, what some of the other people here are doing it, I was trying to create a watering plan. I don't know if I can use any water. We planting trees that can't water because it'll be expensive. I don't know. Bob put together some equipment for us
And we'll supply the water.
yeah, so I was out watering Saturday. But now I got to change it to Friday so we can keep refilling this thing. Yeah, water, but we have, based on what you were saying earlier, kind of thinking along the same lines, because we're getting these trees this year, we've devoted most of our budget to that endeavor. Plus, we gave the street department another close to $7,000 for tree removal. We have $4,800 left in our budget. We need some money for mulch and some maintenance items. Not much, so we may end up asking the group to donate the remaining $4,000 towards the water as a department change. I don't know if you can do that. You may look at some of these other departments and everybody scratching and clawing. I don't want to attempt it not to give it away because what do we do next year? Budget. I could continue getting that amount of money, but we may not use it this year. So I just assume see $4,000 going to the water problem. You got to get a vote on that, but that's my sense. Maybe some other departments can do the same thing.
Thank you, John. Mr. Dante, town manager report.
Good evening. We'll try to keep it brief this evening. Try to leave the word water out of it. We have some approvals tonight. We have a quote from Michiana Contracting Lights. These are going to be lights installed during the Lakeshore project discussed earlier during our work session. They'll come from State Road 10, down to Academy Road. They create kind of the idea of the comprehensive plan flow. Have them down Jefferson, have them down Main, going down Lakeshore. We like to extend that look, bringing people into town. So we have 4 lights that will be directly between Academy. State Road 10 will have one across by the Beach Lodge by the curve that goes around by the root beer stand. Again, building on that whole idea of continuity. That quote is going to be for $89,012. That money is coming, discussing it with Karen. The money's coming from the funds that we had since the bid came in low for Lakeshore project. We anticipated larger amounts for the matching funds for the CCMG grant. We're going to apply some of those, not all of them, but that money coming from that matching towards this bill. And I asked tonight for the council's approval.
For how much again?
$89,012.
Ms. Munroe moves to approve the amount of $89,012. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Neer seconds. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign.
Thank you, council. Also, even though Crystal's here, I had her, is that okay?
Yeah,
Okay,
sure.
fine. I have a contract from Pi Barker, is that correct pronunciation? For $4,390.
Way less than what he's at.
There you go. $4,390. This is to upgrade our camera system that is down at the park currently. It's something that some of our peer renters and also in terms of safety wise at the park has been requested. The upgrade of the existing system, correct?
So this would
Thank you.
upgrade the system that we have right now. The other bids that, or the other quotes that I have, were to replace cameras and everything, but our cameras are fine. It just could use an upgrade in the actual system. So I think we should just stick with the company that we've been using.
And this is the current quote
Yeah.
for that. The other thing, it allows for greater capability of reviewing of the film a little bit more efficiently by our police force. correct?
Yeah, I don't know if we weren't using, things that we had available to us in the past, or if it was just the old system didn't allow it, but the new system will allow us to use an app. So, Chad will be able to put it on his phone as well as mine and, Kevin's, instead of them having to come into the beach lodge and, get the information off the computer. So it just seems to have, more, everything that the other companies were offering.
That's right.
We just don't have to do it.
And just for point of reference, Crystal did do her due diligence, went out and got 3 quotes for us. Contractor came in at $8,194, so significant higher. And then Security Service Paramar came in at, looks like for installation and comparatives, $6,499. So we are looking at value bid. We asked for approval for the quote tonight.
I'll make the motion to approve the addition purchase of the upgrade.
Mr. Monroe moves to approve the upgrade of cameras in the amount of $4,390. There's a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Ricciardi. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign.
Thank you. What's your recommendation from home?
That's what they just said. We'll be able to identify the raccoons. They said it has facial recognition. We'll just have to, put them on.
Okay, 2 things tonight. No more water, no more. Moving forward. Some updates and things that I want to provide. Lake Fest went off and did an excellent job. Mr. Croy, thank you. And everybody involved in that. It's a nice community event. Enjoyed the fireworks, sitting in my usual spot away from everybody and quietly enjoying it from a golf cart with my wife. So thanks. It was a good time. And a lot of people get involved. And Justin, you did a really nice job of getting out there and thanking the public, people that were involved directly. So I won't labor over it. Appreciate the council tonight with the town. We had a work session where we discussed current projects that are underway. It was a good dialogue, updates, and there are some exciting things coming forward that I anticipate getting some council guidance on. We're able to discuss that. So I'm going to try to make that portfolio available to the public so you can see what we're doing and see some of the costs and the funding and give some clarity out there. Try to put that on the website next week. Probably won't be tomorrow, but we'll try to get that out there, as well as updating what we've heard tonight on the water rates. I'll try to provide some of the things that Karen has worked diligently on in terms of charts, graphs, and some of that material is currently on there on our town website. You'll see it under water rate increase discussion. It's a little emblem to the far right and the first page, and you'll see it. The peer RFP is out. I've sent it out to 3 quotes. I've 3 quotes that are 3 contractors. All 3 are interested. And so hopefully we'll be able to put together a competitive quote process this time and bring in some bids for you to consider. We're going to probably close that out. I think I have it in August and get that in front of you so we can get ready for the new season. We'll begin in the fall and the new cycle will begin in the fall. That's a little bit more advantageous because it takes you. So next time we won't have somebody leaving us. They'll have to take out and install, and it's a little better way of doing it, it looks like. So I'll have an update on that hopefully here in the month. Feasibility study for the hotel is out there. As was mentioned during the CRC, the banners as well came in and we're moving on that. But there was some interest. Jessica Yunker from Courtstein Group came down and did initial visit. Very interested in the academy. You couldn't ask for a more picture perfect day. The sailboats were out on the lake and kids playing, and took her around the lake and showed her the downtown, and the initial interest is there. So we continue to do interviews and surveys, and we're looking more into that, keeping in mind that we're not sure about locations, the size they deal. the group that we're looking at really deals with populations under 10,000. You're looking at a 50 unit, very small kind of footprint profile. So they're tailor made for towns such as ours, recreational communities, private school communities, or college communities. So we continue to explore that. We're just trying to get some data to put in front of the council and the town for some input. So I look forward to that in the next couple of months. Upcoming events, we have the Corn Roast and the Fireman Festival going on. Going to be a good weekend. I love that Corn Roast and Lions Club. Boil them down. What else do we have coming up? We have the triathlon. That's right, Mr. Neer. I figured you might chime in there, but Croy beat you to it. Triathlon's coming up here in 2 weeks. Is that right? Look forward to that.
Yep. Anybody wants to sign up?
Absolutely been training my heart out. And you can see I'm shroud in shape, Dana. Look forward to that event. And again, a lot of community people, volunteers get involved in it.
What time's corn shucking in it?
Shucking corn at 1. I'll be there at 4 to eat.
4:30. Can I say something? Since you just said the community gets involved.
Sure.
We had the DAC water ski clinic in the park the last 2 days.
Thank you.
And Kara reached out, the news came and covered them today. They did a couple of interviews and even went out on the boat and got some footage of the boat. And it's just such a cool thing that they do. And they just commended the community embracing it and everything. And it's just, yeah, so the community really welcomed them. There's a few people that came in onto the courtesy pier and, we told them they couldn't be there. And they're like, oh, like, as soon as they know what they're doing, they're like, oh, we're sorry, this is great, and they leave. So just, yeah, community really welcomed them.
That's it for me tonight.
That's it. Thank you. Ms. Heim, your report.
Yes, I just have two claims over 2,500 for your approval. The first one, and both of them kind of have already been approved, but United States Geological Survey, $4,300, and that is for the maintenance of the lake gauge. We share the cost, split the cost 3 ways between Lake Mexico, Town Council, and the Culver. And then Lockmuller Group is $9,497.37. 75% of that comes out of the grant fund because it's reimbursed by NDOT. The others coming out of the street department, and that is for construction inspection on Lake Max Phase 3 and the Jefferson Slate. That are both almost done.
Motion to approve the claims.
Mr. Monroe moves to approve claims over 2,500. A second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Neer. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
The second thing I have is budget meetings. Justin, I apologize, but I'm out of town the following week after you're gone. But please plan on meeting August 4th and 5th. And each night, 6:30 meetings, we'll split the budgets in half. I'm thinking non-township budgets will be reviewed on Monday night and township budgets will be reviewed on Tuesday night. So there's that. Please come in and see me. I'm happy to go over, spend time, whatever time you need to go over those budgets, catch you up, and explain, especially since this is your first budget. Last meeting, you decided to accept applications for a seat on the MCEDC board, or Marshall County Economic Development Corporation Board, or MCEDC. As Don Fox had resigned, I only received one application, and that was from Wade McGee. I did distribute that this afternoon, but failed to see the attached and didn't attach the attachment of the letter that he had written. So, but I did send that out after I called him. So it is up to your discretion to.
Thank you. Anything else?
I always want, how do you want to proceed with the MCDC appointment?
Oh,
And we said, you said July 22nd was the date to accept.
I thought. And it doesn't have to be within town limits. From what I understand, it just can't be an elected official, I believe.
right.
So,
It's it.
yeah, you have to live in Marshall County. I'm comfortable with appointing Wade to the MCEDC board. I'll make that motion to do that.
This one Monroe moves to appoint Wade McGee to the Marshall County Economic Development. Second,
A second.
second by Mr. Neer. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Then just a reminder, we're gonna have a work session August 14th at 5 PM. So we'll discuss the water rates, I want to say water and sewer rates. Just the water rates, and, blanking on the other.
Policy.
Oh, thank you.
Sewer, water.
Thank you. So I will get that notice out tomorrow. And then finally, I just want to appreciate the public, which I think most of them have left. But for all the input, I know Barb Johnson had come in early this afternoon. Like the majority of today, just in discussions and but I appreciate the public's input and the council's consideration. I know it's difficult. I'm not the one that makes the decision, but I also have to sitting, biting my fingernails. Right, and numbers go down and trying to figure out how to get things, how to make things work. So I can appreciate where you all are coming from and the way that we're trying to work through this and find a path out of this that we can all live with. So, but I just as a reminder, my office is always open and there's very few times that my door is shut. And I invite any of you to come in and talk with me and discuss anything. And you walk in the office and I might not look like I'm there because I'm in the corner at my standing desk. But if my office door is open.
And I think that summary page that you wrote was really effective because it also gives a history there that I don't think a lot of people are aware of. So I love the idea of putting that out on the website. And I know you're trying to get that type of information out and it just beautifully outlines it, just boom, 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 boom.
It was well done. And it
Yeah,
was
and
carried.
it completely aligns with how I remember that period of time. A lot's happened in that 10 years. It goes by really fast, about water rates.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Council issues, Mr. Neer.
Just to our department heads, you guys, we appreciate what we do. And, we had 3 sports teams use our beach this week for team building. Kokomo,
John Glenn.
Argus was here, and John Glenn, maybe there were more. But come to our little city and have team building time on the lake. Visit our
In
establishments.
the Plymouth Parks Department.
They came too, so super. And then to Justin, we mentioned already that great job, passionate leadership for the Lake Festival and being flexible in the rain. Well done. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. The security was great. Saw a lot of police officers out and my own family was enjoying the Lake Fest. So it was really kind of fun to see their responses to everything. Job well done by everyone involved, job well done by town employees. I got a lot of compliments from my nieces about the park, the beach, how kind the staff are down there. Crystal, so the house on that. It's nice to hear a lot of positivity about the town of Culver when you're sitting in our roles, hearing so much about how great the people who work for the town are doing for the town. Because there's not that many of you, and there's a lot of darn people around coming and going in town. So it's really nice to hear it.
Sally?
I'm glad Lake Fest was good with rain. That always can put a huge damper on stuff. And that I'm really happy.
Justin?
Just thank you again. Obviously, everybody's talked about it, and it took almost every department head from the town, from Crystal to Bob to Chad. We appreciate it. Looking forward to shucking corn and cooking snow on Saturday. Shift our attention up.
I have nothing, but I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion made.
Mr. Ernie and second by Mr. Neer. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. We're adjourned.